our good buddy from The Athletic, Frank Isola, here on the program. How you doing, Frank?
The great Rich Eisen. How are you?
The great Frank Isola. I'm doing better for talking to you, sir. I don't even know where to start with this. Is the NBA happy with what happened last night, with it being so completely off the wall, and it's maybe firing a shot across the bow of any tank intended teams, or the teams that need the biggest help don't really get it? Frank, where do they stand on this subject right now?
Well, I don't think they'd ever admit it, but I think if Zion Williamson ended up in New York or L.A., there could be some smiling in the league office. But I think for them, what they wanted to do with the revised format to try to prevent teams from tanking, even though I still think teams will do it, it was pretty unpredictable. I mean, you had a team that had a 6% chance jumping all the way to the top spot. I mean, the Lakers went from having the 11th spot to being 4th. The Knicks went from being 1 to being 3. And then you look at what happened to the Suns and obviously the Cleveland Cavaliers. I felt a little bit bad for the Atlanta Hawks because the Atlanta Hawks tried to do everything the right way this year. Now, they didn't have the most talented roster, but they came out and played hard. Guys like Trae Young, John Collins, Lloyd Pierce, the head coach, did a very good job. Too bad that they fell all the way to 8th because they were like the one team that wasn't very good, that was trying to win for most of the season and actually did things the right way, but it didn't pay off for them last night.
Well, I mean, in previous years, a team with a 6% chance was ranked 6th in the draft order. This time around, a team with a 6% chance ranked 7th through 9th. And the 6% chance in the previous lottery days were 19% off from winning the entire shooting match in the lottery. Last night, 6% was just 9% off. It's leveled the playing field, but is that the right way to do a draft, Frank?
I think the way the league, especially after what happened in Philadelphia, where they were, clearly tanking for all those years, I don't think the league wants that. I think a lot of fans that go to these games late in the season and the big-name players aren't playing, I think that turns off a lot of people. I don't ever think there's going to be a perfect way to do it, but if you're a fan of the Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Phoenix Suns, you're obviously bummed out because you lost a ton of games, especially in the case of the New York Knicks. You went 17-65. In other years, you would have had a 25% chance of getting the number 1 pick. And you think to yourself, you know what, this is the year to have the number 1 pick because it's going to be Zion Williamson. I get all of that, but you can't say that it wasn't pretty exciting last night, especially, how many times have we seen when they do the draft, and they're going to take the commercial break before they go to the top. It used to be the top 3.
Right.
Now it's the top 4. And you had the Knicks were still alive. The Lakers were in it, who defied the odds. Same thing with New Orleans and Memphis. So during that commercial break, I started thinking, because I'm bad at math, that's why I had to get into this business. I'm thinking to myself, well, hang on, the Knicks must have won because going into it, they had higher odds than the 3 remaining teams. But I was wrong about that. In fact, Rich, how about this? They draw first, and it was New Orleans. Memphis won the 2nd pick, and then when they do the drawing for the 3rd pick, Memphis won again. So obviously they have to redraw, and then that turned out to be the Knicks, and then the Lakers were 4th. So the Memphis came up 2 times. They won the 2nd pick and the 3rd pick, but you don't get both picks.
Well, in terms of also, in that commercial break, I just flipped on Twitter, was tweeting out some stuff myself, and I saw you, Frank, from a few minutes before saying that you had somebody that was able to communicate from out of the hermetically sealed. What was the phrase that
transmit?
No, you used transmit, but Howard Beck, who was on in the first hour, called, what do you call it? The room, the sequestered room, the sequestered space.
Yeah.
Has anyone from the NBA called you to see who ordered the code red, Frank, and got that information out to you?
It's funny you say that. I did get a call from somebody from the league office who was laughing as I picked up the phone. They said, "You son of a gun, I know exactly what you were doing." I was in that room the year that Minnesota won the number 1 pick and got Karl Anthony Towns. That's when the Knicks fell, but they ended up getting Porzingis. And when you go in there, you're obviously handing over your phone and you put it in an envelope, and there's basically guys with baseball bats and guns ready to kill you if you try to get your phone. And so when I said transmit, I thought people would understand kind of the joke. I was surprised at how many people thought I was being serious. It was, a lot of times sarcasm doesn't always project via Twitter. But I thought if I used the word transmit, you know what I should have said? I should have said smoke signals. But I still think people would believe me if I had written that somebody sent out a smoke signal and I know who the number one pick is.
But you were accurate on it being a wild finish that people would be talking about. I mean, Pelicans won, Memphis too. Are you saying nobody did tell you this sort of information?
Nah, nobody knew. But I will say this. I've been saying for a long time, there was a cruel part of me that was hoping that the Lakers would get it. Not that they deserved the pick, but I always felt there'd be so much screaming going on if the Lakers got the number one pick and it would end up with LeBron. And then during that break, after I had tweeted out the part about someone had transmitted me the results, I had tweeted that the Lakers should have had LeVar Ball sit on the dais and represent the team. And then, of course, the Lakers, we knew that they were in the top four, so a lot of people were convinced that it was the Lakers who had won. I had no idea. I'll be honest with you. If you told me during the commercial break, I would have thought that the Knicks were going to win. Again, because I'm very bad at math. That's why I'm in this business.
Frank Isola, the Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. Which team in the top four do you think is most likely to wind up trading the pick?
That's a very good question. I would say probably the Lakers. I think the Lakers have a chance to get Anthony Davis. If David Griffin wants to do that, I know being in the same conference, he might not be that crazy, but they do have more established players than the other teams do. And, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, now you have the fourth overall pick. I would say the Lakers at this point. The Knicks can still get a good pick with it. It's all going to depend on who goes second. If Ja Morant goes second, then I think they're going to get lucky. They'll get R.J. Barrett. If R.J. Barrett goes second, which could happen, Ja Morant, that's a little bit different. He is pretty slight. He's got a long way to go. I know a lot of people talk about how dynamic he is, but he's going to have to get a lot bigger and stronger. I don't think there's any question.
So, obviously the idea going into last night for the Knicks was they get the number one overall pick, and they then try and trade for Davis and maybe get Durant showing up to use the other max contract that they opened up because they dealt Porzingis out of the blue to Dallas. What now? What's the plan now, do you think, for the Knicks?
I still think it's Kevin Durant, but let me ask you this. Do you think if they had won the number one pick, do you think they're trading Zion Williamson? I just think all these teams in the league, this guy has been so hyped, so talked about, really one of the most talked about players we've seen in the last 20 years, probably 30 years, come into the league. Everyone saw his college games. I find it hard to believe that fans of teams, the media, and whatever market it would be, and what about the business side of all these basketball organizations? I think there'd be so much pressure on a team not to trade him. I know we're talking about Anthony Davis, but you're also talking about a guy that's only been out of the first round once in his career. He's had a history of injury problems. I understand the appeal of it. I just doubt that. I still don't believe that the Knicks would have done that. I think they would have held on to Zion Williamson and still tried to make a run at Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I think that's still in play. But you are asking two players, though. Kevin Durant is on a great team, great roster, great teammates. You're asking him to come to a 17-65 team. And Kyrie Irving, and we know that nobody gets along up there in Boston, but that doesn't, neglect the fact that they have great talent on that team, and he'd be coming to a team that doesn't have similar talent. Now, Kyrie and Kevin Durant combined are going to make you a lot better. Is it enough in the Eastern Conference? Well, that will be that remains to be seen.
And so do you think teams are going to tank less next year after last night?
No, I don't. I think they'll think, 14% is still better than 6%, and I'll take my chance. Because you know what's going to happen next year, Rich, and it's going to drive the Knicks fans nuts.
What's that?
The team that finishes with the worst record is going to end up with the number one overall pick. You can see this one coming from a mile away, and Knicks fans are going to be kicking stones. They're going to be so upset about it. And it's just unlucky. The year that they decide to revise the format, that's the year you have the worst record. That's the year that Zion Williamson is available, and it all comes down to bouncing balls. I mean, the Knicks can't be upset. They had nothing to do with it. It's luck. Kawhi Leonard's shot at the end of Game 7, the ball bounced the right way. Last night, it was that way for David Griffin, who I had spoken to him the night before the draft really quickly because I had done some radio stuff with him for Sirius, and he was convinced that they were going to win. He was like so matter-of-factly. He goes, yeah, I'll talk to Mark. We'll win. We have a 6% chance. In fact, I'm almost overconfident with a 6% chance. I was hoping it would be 2%.
I know. Well, he's won it 4 times now, the first overall pick. So that's why he's so damn confident. He's like the lottery whisperer. He should play Powerball.
100%. And he was so mad. He just said, I'm pretty confident. I win all the time. I'm very superstitious, and I'm confident. It's crazy. It really is.
Well, I think what has to happen if the Knicks are in the draft lottery again is just Dolan's man Kevin, who kicks people out for a living, and then or Dolan's man Kevin, who's people who supposedly are just ambushing Dolan and need to be held for Kevin. He just needs to freeze the ping pong balls better, Frank. I don't think he did his job last night, quite frankly.
He didn't. He didn't. You're 100% right. Hold him for Kevin is the famous saying of the season. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Kevin. We got Zion.
Well, R.J. Barrett might not be a very bad consolation prize at all.
You're
we'll
right.
see how it goes.
You're right.
Frank,
you just have to learn how to speak Canadian, Rich. You can use that line.
let's take this to next week too. I'd love to have you back on before the finals, Frank.
Thanks
for the call. You got it. It's Frank Isola of The Athletic, at the Frank Isola.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.